Welcome to the show radio. And now, here is your host, Andrew Alliance.
What's up, guys? Thanks for downloading episode 327 of the show radio. I'm your host, Andrew, and this is your source for tech, gaming, and entertainment news. Head over to theshowradio.info. Once again, that's theshowradio.info, and check out my past shows. And while you're there, subscribe and tell a friend about the show. This particular episode is going to be focusing on some podcasting tips, as well as hidden figures, if you will, some actual numbers that the show did up to date. I've been podcasting for about 6 years. 2017 will be the 7th year. So definitely thank you for all your support from every single country and territory that actually listens to the show. It is very, very much appreciated. So a couple of things. I definitely want to say the show is on iTunes, Android, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. Also YouTube. Definitely check it out there. And some podcasting hidden figures plus tips. So I definitely want to jump right into it. I'm actually changing the format a little bit where the news was usually directly on the top. What I'm doing now is I'm actually going to put the news on the bottom, and whatever is the headline for the show is going to be at the top, which is actually happening right now. So podcasting hidden figures and tips. So these are actual stats for the show. I definitely want to just go over them really quickly and maybe just hang on a couple of things as they come to me in real time. So if your episode is doing more than 186 downloads within the month, so that particular episode, whatever that episode is, and it does 186 downloads within the month, and you're doing better than 50% of the shows on iTunes. And this is coming from Rob Walsh from Libsyn. So definitely wanted to share that with you. Also, on average, this show, the show radio, actually does 200 plus downloads per episode. And that is definitely a blessing. Without you, there's no listeners. So definitely appreciate all your support for that. Just want to mention also, 186 downloads is, I guess, the minimum. That's the number that is that particular range. If you do more than that, then that's great. Obviously, this last episode 326, is at 600 plus downloads right now and counting, which is absolutely amazing. So wanted to share that. Total all-time downloads thus far, well, actually it probably changed since I last wrote this number. I have 63,043. That's what's going on there. And monthly downloads on a regular basis, that's actually a range, and that range goes from 1,500 to 2,100 downloads per month, depending on what's going on. So as far as countries and territories, there's a lot of them. So I definitely want to say, wherever you're listening from, I really do appreciate it. I definitely wanted to say at least the top 10 countries and territories that are listening right now. So I wanted to share that with you. I have USA, UK, Canada, Germany, Australia, Brazil, China, Republic of Korea, India, and Kuwait. And those are the top 10 countries and territories that are listening to the show right now. There's plenty of you guys and gals all over the world listening to the show, and is greatly appreciated. And please tell a friend wherever you are in the world. Please tell a friend to tune into the show. It is very, very much appreciated. So your podcast, if you're an actual content creator, your podcast cannot reach India unless it is a clean show. And this is some information that I heard from Rob Walsh from Libsyn a while ago. Apparently, if there's a profanity and that kind of content in the particular show, you will not be added into the Indian, playlist or Play Store, if you will. So be very mindful of exactly your end goal. If your end goal is globalization of your show, and you want everybody, as many individuals, as you want to listen to that particular, show and that content that you're creating, be mindful of that particular thing. If you do a lot of language and profanity in your particular episodes, that doesn't necessarily, work well for a lot of different countries and territories if you're trying to be a global, international, platform for individuals to listen to. So definitely be mindful of that. A couple of tips I definitely wanted to mention to you is that when you're creating your titles, and I had this conversation offline with some individuals, but your titles are really important, especially when you're trying to list or you're trying to be found, whether it's in iTunes or on Google or on YouTube, depending on where exactly you're trying to be found, whether it's an SEO thing, you want to make sure that your titles actually make sense, so it is understood to not only iTunes, but also Google. So what do I mean? For example, this particular episode is going to be named Podcasting Hidden Figures plus Tips plus Destiny's The Dawning. And then I'm going to put the episode number at the end, which is episode 327. So I opted to do the episode number at the end because I want the individuals who are looking at the episode title to see exactly what the episode is about. So now if I have, let's say, an inside joke in the title, that doesn't necessarily translate well on a global scale if I'm trying to have individuals understand exactly the content and the actual episode. So inside jokes in the titles, I would necessarily recommend, but if that's the route that you want to take because it's your show, just have at it. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. So your titles matter. What you name your podcast episodes matter. And if it translates well from iTunes to Google, can Google read it and understand it? Is it searchable via iTunes? Is it transferable on your WordPress blog? So those kind of things you need to really be mindful, especially when you're creating the actual episode title. So another thing too, I want to mention as I'm thinking about it right now, and it's not necessarily in front of my notes, is the description that you put for that particular episode, whatever, let's say it's episode 327, like we're recording right now. That particular description is for you to read, and it's great because you have an idea of what's on the actual episode, but iTunes doesn't take that information for SEO for you to be found on iTunes. So what you want to make sure is that your title has the actual keywords that you really want people to know to be found for that particular episode. So for example, if you put Hidden Figures in iTunes, once this episode goes live, my show will come up. If you put podcasting, my episode will come up. If you put Destiny, this episode will come up. If you put The Dawning, this episode will come up because all that information is in the title. So be very strategic on how you want to do that particular thing for your titles as you're doing your episodes and you're publishing them, especially if you're on Libsyn, if you use the Libsyn platform, just whatever platform you use, I'll say this, whatever platform you use to create your little post before you actually upload the MP3 stuff and you put your description, make sure your title makes sense and try to keep the inside jokes outside of it. So that's if I were you and I was starting for the first time. So this is not necessarily for the individuals who've been recording for 10 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, maybe 3 years. This is for the individuals really just starting out and they're trying to figure out, the best way to have their episodes be found when individuals are searching for different types of content on iTunes and, those kind of platforms. So just be mindful of that. So I definitely want to share that. Another thing, as far as tips, I definitely want to share is feature a guest if you can, feature an interview, allow companies to come on and talk about their stuff on your platform. Because typically what happens with that is, depending on the company, they usually share that interview with, their people, or the PR company will share that information with, whoever it needs to be shared with. If you double post or triple post, and what I mean by that, selectively, natively on a platform. So you post on Twitter natively, then you do a Facebook post natively, then you do a YouTube post natively, then you do a Google Plus post natively, that can be shared by that particular company. You don't know where that audio is going to go. Now, on the same thought and process, as well as you're creating the shows, you don't know who's listening to the show. Right? So you can't assume that just because you and your friends decide to do a little podcast and you guys are just hanging out talking about the stuff that you want to hang out and talk about, and that's all it is. You're talking on a global scale. So people are listening all over the world, and we have to get to a point. And obviously this is, a refresher for me as well as the individuals who are recording for the first time, that this is not just about your world. It's about everyone else listening to the actual show. So definitely be mindful of that. So consider featuring a guest, maybe feature a track. I may do that on this particular episode as I think about it, as I go forward. And also proper credits to the track that you feature. That's important because that particular artist may even retweet your show. You never know. So you don't know where your show is going to end up. You don't know where, who's going to be listening to it and what they're going to do with the actual content. But just know everything that you mentioned on your episode, matters to somebody listening to it right now. It matters. Okay. So definitely take that into consideration. So that's pretty much what I have there. Just to reiterate, about 2,000 plus downloads a month for the show, 63,000 plus all time current to date. Last episode 326, did over 600 plus downloads and counting, and people are still listening to that particular episode. So definitely check that out. That particular episode was dealing with the Portal Wi-Fi router, which is an amazing router. So definitely check that out. And on average, the episodes that I record here for the show radio gets 200 plus downloads per episode. So these are my actual numbers. And according to that, I'm doing 50% better than any other show on, I guess, the iTunes platform, which is not because of me. That is all because of you. So definitely thank you for your support. And that's what's going on there. So Destiny's The Dawning. Definitely want to talk about that. New quests are available in the tower from Eva Levante, Amanda Holiday, and Commander Zavala. Just going to talk some of the things that caught my attention in this particular update. Sparrow Racing is obviously that's return. SRL Racing suits earned from SRL matches have light and can be infused. Strikes in a Siva Crisis playlist, Siva Crisis Heroic playlist, and weekly Nightfall now reward medals and feature team scoring. So that's pretty cool. And the 3 strikes are one of my favorite. Actually, these 3 strikes are actually my favorites. The Nexus, Shadow Thief, and Will of Crota. Even though Will of Crota still doesn't drop any 3 of coins, they have been redone to the current light, whatever that is, 380 plus or whatever it is. So those strikes have been redone. 3 of coins can be applied to SRL races, but they still cannot be applied to Will of Crota unless that has changed, as I'm recording this. But I haven't seen any drops for me when I do that 3 of coins for Will of Crota. So that's what's going on there. Reduce burn effects on incoming damage done to Guardians. Outgoing damage by Guardians is unchanged. Okay, so definitely consider that. There was an issue fixed with the Horde chest on Echo Chamber, and I remember experiencing this a couple of times where it was stuck behind the wall when you tried to access the chest. So that was fixed. Definitely needed to be fixed. So increased time for presenting Archon's Forge offerings to the encounter starting from 5 to 10 seconds. Reduce shields for bosses and perfected Shank offerings. And to me, outside of the actual servitor, the big servitor that you have to face for Archon's Forge, the Shanks probably took the longest because of their shields. So definitely kudos on that for fixing that. Ghost and Devil Ghost have been added to the holiday collection for players who have obtained these items already. So that's what's going on there. So Xur, update on Xur. Xur comes tomorrow. Xur once again sells exotic shards. Xur no longer sells exotic weapon ornaments. Xur now sells a larger stack of 10 heavy ammo synths. So look for that. Characters who are level 40 will now automatically convert uncommon engrams, the green ones, to weapon and armor materials on pickup. Players can now purchase Wormspore, finally, from the Vanguard Quartermaster. Skeleton Keys drop rates have been slightly increased in a Siva Crisis playlist, Siva Crisis Heroic playlist, and weekly Nightfall. Increase the drop rate for Iron Banner vanity items and artifacts. And that's pretty much some of the things that really caught my attention for that particular update, Destiny's The Dawning. Full update list will be in the show notes. News you can use after the break. This podcast is brought to you by ProXPN. ProXPN is a VPN service that secures your internet connection against eavesdropping, hides your location, and allows you to access your favorite sites no matter where you live or travel to. With it, no one can see the websites you visit or track your online activity. Check out theshowradio.info/ProXPN and use the promo code SHORAM for 20% off the lifetime of your account. This podcast is also brought to you by Audible.com. Audible has over 180,000 plus audiobooks to choose from. Get your first audiobook free with a 30-day trial. Check out theshowradio.info/audiobook for your 30-day trial. Okay, so now we have life hacks and entertainment news. Definitely want to start with that. Deceit.me finds and helps you delete random accounts that you've signed up for. Internet security basic course. I'm going to have that in the show notes. Now, how to stop Procrastination. Going to have that in the show notes. Portal Wi-Fi recently added mesh networking. And definitely episode 326 is the episode to listen for that as far as Portal is concerned. Privacy Badger is an extension for Chrome. Going to have that in the show notes. Plex Cloud can now upload your media to Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. Also did see Altered Beast and Streets of Rage, two of my favorites, I should say. Classic game franchises are getting TV and film adaptations. Fast 8 was renamed, and that was renamed to The Fate of the Furious. Mark Wahlberg did recently confirm that he is no longer attached to the Uncharted movie. Ben Affleck is working on another Batman, and he's taking his time to do that. Assassin's Creed is going to do something very, very interesting. They're actually going to do a commercial for the upcoming movie that will feature the world's first live TV ad. So definitely look for that when that comes out. Netflix canceled Marco Polo after 2 seasons. And last but not least, for the entertainment stuff, Netflix next original series, which is called The OA, I believe that releases tomorrow, which is the 16th of December. So definitely look for that this particular Friday. Some video game news. Definitely want to talk about video game news. PlayStation 4 sales. That's 50 million units. That is not shipped. That is actually sold through numbers. Australia's largest Street Fighter tournament. That's actually coming this weekend to Binge Fest. So I'm going to have a link for to that in the show notes. Now, also, what else did I see? Xbox update increases download speeds. The update will benefit those with high-speed connections greater than 100 megabytes per second. Also, the individuals who have less than that particular connection should experience a more consistent performance that is up to 40% faster than before. Lost Odyssey is free, or Odyssey, depending on where you're from and how you want to say that. That can be downloaded on the Xbox Store right now. And that is free, I guess, up until December 31st. Don't quote me on that, but definitely download it now if you can. 3-on-3 Freestyle. That's a basketball game that is on the PlayStation 4 for free right now. And another thing I'm definitely excited about is this Retro Engine Sigma. That is a Linux-powered retro games console that's coming sometime next year. I think that's first quarter next year. I'm looking forward to definitely keeping track of that, exactly what's happening with that in light of all this Nintendo NES Classic conversation that's happening right now, where the demand is very high for that, but the supply is very low, and stores that are getting 5 here and maybe 4 there, and people are spending their nights outside just to get this particular console, and it's great. It's great. The buzz is great. That's exciting, but the individuals that actually want to get it for their kids, it's not so great because they're walking away with pretty much nothing unless you have strategically set yourself up to actually pick it up because you've waited online or you slept outside. That's what's going on there. So in addition to that, some more Mario news. Super Mario Run, I believe that's out today, December 15th. And also you need an internet connection to access all the stuff properly. Nintendo Switch will be able to play GameCube games via its virtual console service. So look for that. I'm going to have a link in the show notes in regards to that. Halo 5 Guardians now features new weapons, new armor, new skins for their recent update called Monitor's Bounty. So I believe that's out now. Also out now is the rest of the remastered maps for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Okay, so definitely look for that. Also new modes, microtransactions, in the form of supply drops is available for that. And also Uncharted 4, which I still need to finish. Survival mode is out. Also new multiplayer updates are out for that. And another game that I've been trying to stay away from, and I really need to get it because I've been denying reasons to get it, and I know I really want it, is Overwatch. They have their seasonal event called Winter Wonderland that's out right now. And it's exciting stuff. And that's pretty much it. That about does it for this particular episode of The Show Radio. This is episode 327. The show is on iTunes, Android, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Google Play. Subscribe with your favorite podcatcher at theshowradio.info/listen. Once again, that's theshowradio.info/listen. The feature track on this episode is called Episode It is called Episode by Autograph, and the link will be in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. If I don't record anymore this particular year, I definitely want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you, wherever you're listening from, whether you're listening locally or internationally. It is greatly appreciated. Please share this episode with your friends and your family. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.
You're listening to The Show Radio. Visit our blog at theshowradio.info. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes at theshowradio.info/iTunes. theshowradio.info/iTunes.